Here is the reason why I think members in the House are reluctant to use the full amount of the rainy day fund. They know that we have a structural revenue shortfall. Our tax system is broken, and over the last two budgets, we've been balancing our budget with one-time money. Our tax structure has not matched the pace of expenses. In 2007, when we when we wrote the budget for 09 and 08 and 09, we had an 8% hole in our budget. We covered that with one-time funds from prior budget cycles. The next budget cycle, the hole grew twice as large. Fortunately, we had stimulus dollars and again, one-time funds from prior budget cycles. Today, that hole has nearly doubled once again to 27%. If we do not fix this, I'm afraid we're going to balance the budget this year with cuts alone and then come back again the next time and have to inflict more cuts on our schools and on our healthcare system.
He's got the props. Do you agree with him?
I don't agree with him. The problem we have right now is that we haven't been selling houses. The housing market is flat in the state of Texas. The increase in the value of property has only been up less than 1%. So the normal growth we've had for the last 10 years in the state of Texas of housing going up 8 to 10% every year is just flat. Once the economy recovers, the tax is sufficient to cover what we spend.
Here's the problem that I see us at today. Prior generations before us have sacrificed to make smart strategic investments in our schools, in our universities, in our basic infrastructure like our road system, and we've benefited from them. Now, I went to a public university. I was able to because prior generations invested in that university. And the only thing they asked of my generation and our generation of adults is to make a similar investment for the generation to follow. I'm afraid that today's adults are about to step back from what has been a long tradition of Texans looking forward, planning for a better future, making investments to graduate more Texans from high schools and colleges. We're about to step back from that long tradition, and the costs are going to be devastating. We're going to have a weaker economy because today, in this modern global economy of ours, we can't get by with competing on a cheap labor formula. It's all about investing in humans, investing in our kids, growing the quality workforce to compete with other nations.
Governor Perry's talked about one of the uses for the rainy day fund might be if we had a natural disaster. Do you see that as something?
Absolutely. I mean, that's what it's designed for. When you could get a supermajority of the legislature to come in and say, yeah, we've had a tsunami, either that be an earthquake or hurricane or whatever might come out of us. You know, we never know what's going to happen. It is not bad to have a savings account. And it is not bad not to put the burden of the general public, who is also in an economic downturn, not just the state, but the people, the population are unemployed. It's tough times for them. They do not deserve to have another tax put on them. And if we don't have an equalization fund like this, a stabilization fund, then we would have to come back and levy another tax on the public, and that is just not fair in these economic times.
What do you think?
Oh, gosh. Where to start? Number one is the purpose of the rainy day fund is to cover an economic downturn. Standard & Poor's says it themselves. They recently released a report saying the problem with the state's finances is not a spending problem, it's a revenue problem. And they're going to be re-examining our worthiness of having credit if we do not balance this budget in a balanced way that includes cutting, but also improving how we collect taxes. Today, our tax code is like Swiss cheese. There are exemptions that you could drive a truck through. We are bleeding revenue that should go to cover our basic services and our infrastructure, And instead, they're spilling out because we're giving one business sector a benefit over another, one family a benefit over another. That's not fair. We need to go back to the day when we had a uniform and equitable tax system. Large base, low rates would improve our situation today.
You were shaking your head on the tax system.
I have had nobody ask me to raise their taxes. You know, when you start saying the only way out of this is to raise taxes, then we have not done our job. Cutting the budget is the proper way to stay within your economic limits. Have a balanced budget based on the tax revenue that you're going to have, and that's the way to make this state grow beyond any other. We have not become the #1 location in America because of any other reason but that we have a friendly atmosphere for business and jobs. And so people move here to have a job, and they don't move here to have a tax structure like they have in New York or California. They come to Texas because they can have a job, make some money, and not pay it all out in taxes. So if we keep that going, Texas has a bright, bright future.
It's first important to know that the Rainy Day Fund is filled with dollars that Texans have already paid in taxes. And so those monies are already collected, they're in an account. Texans have paid them for this purpose of an economic downturn. And so today, the debate really is just, should we use those funds that have already been paid to balance this budget? Or should we just cut services and balance our budget on the backs of local governments? In the end, what I think we'll see is we're forcing the bill down and making our constituents who are experiencing these difficult times, they've already, in many cases, drained their own savings account, yet we're unwilling to drain our own to accommodate for basic services like education. And when it comes to taxes, look, we're always going to be a below average taxing state. What I'm talking about doing is just making sure that we fix a broken tax system. In 2006, when we created our new business tax, we estimated that it would be generating funds twice as much as it is generating today. Here's an estimate. The red bars tell us how much money was going to come in our new business tax. The blue bars represent on an annual basis how much is actually coming in. So the new business tax is raising less than half of what we were told it would raise. This is broken. My colleague, Republican Senator Ogden, agrees. This is a broken business tax, and it deserves to be fixed.